Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I want to make this video because this is a question that comes up often. And in Facebook or in the BiggerPockets forums, usually when this question comes up, I provide a link to this article by Brandon Turner where he talked about the classes of neighborhoods. And it kind of gives a definition that's very general. So what I want to do today is I have Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time and Matt the Lumberjack Landlord, two friends of mine with large portfolios who've been investing for decades. And I want to actually get from the horse's mouth how an investor looks at class A, B, C, or D neighborhoods and which one you prefer and why. Let's start with Mike. Can you kind of give us, in your own words, the definition of a class of neighborhood?
Yeah. So in my world, there are three types. Class A, to use the vernacular, basically brand new homes, higher end, negative cash flow, don't look at, right? Class D in this example, for me, class C, D, whatever you want to call it, stuff I don't invest in. You need a bulletproof vest to collect rent. Everything else I buy. That's it, right? So if you think of a bell curve, there's the super nice stuff and the super not nice. And it's really about, can I collect my rent? No. Does it cash flow? No. I buy everything in the middle, right? I think far too many people split hairs. What's an A, B, C, or D? Which one do you like? I just know what works and what doesn't. The really, really nice stuff's too expensive, doesn't cash flow. This stuff over here, I have tenant issues and I need a bulletproof vest to collect rent. I don't do either. I wrote about in my first book, One Rental at a Time. What will I not buy? Because again, in 2010, I was buying everything I could, but Olivia had a veto rule. Basically, the rule was, would she drive up in her very expensive Mercedes during the day, get out of the car, go inspect the unit by herself and come out and not feel like she's going to get carjacked? If the answer was yes, I couldn't buy that deal. The answer was no, we bought the deal, right? So I think too many people think about A, B, C's, and D's, and they want to argue, is it 10 years or less? Or who cares? Who cares? So maybe I have a very simplistic, but that's how I look at it.
Actually, I like the idea that people can make investing as complex or as simple as they want to. So as far into the weeds as they want to go, that's up to them. And Matt, in your own words, how would you define neighborhood classes?
So I would say same as Mike on the A's, stuff that doesn't cash flow, stuff that's brand new, stuff that really is more builder focused, not ever anything I want to spend any time in. D's, what I always have to evaluate in a D neighborhood is the fact that I will never outrun anyone. And so if I have to outrun somebody, I'm done. So that's instantly a disqualifier for me. Forget about anything else. It's just if I can outrun them, and that ain't happening. Even if there's a meal on the other side, it still ain't happening. So usually my focus is going to be B's and C's, and the reason for that is I like to buy A-class product in B-class and C-class areas because there's that move down renter, there's the move up renter that gets you with the same unit. And I actually will buy A, B, C, D class product in mainly B and C areas. So I even kind of split it apart and we talk about what the asset is, but then we talk about where it is. Because that's a big difference for us is that, and you can literally go 2 or 3 blocks away and people are like, yeah, but this thing is way underpriced. No. It's on New York Street. And that's all you need to know. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how I split it up is that we also, in that process, we also want to make sure that we're not upgrading and we're not putting in, we're not using junky cabinets with, that made out of press board. And we're not putting in laminate countertops. We want to put in the same type of product pretty consistently. And so we find that just by kind of following the math of, I want to create, I'll buy anything A through D as far as quality product goes, but we want it to be in a BC area. That way there's the move down option and move up option.
I like that because it goes with Mike's bell curve of the super expensive, the war zone, something in the middle. Yeah. And originally I thought I would do 3 days worth of research and then make this video because the question comes up so much.
But not today.
Instead, I wanted to get your guys' opinion. So let me give you the Cliff Notes version of how I define the neighborhoods, and then you tell me what you think.
Okay.
I do separate it into the 4 kind of clear categories. D is a war zone. If you can't go there safely and the cops don't go there by themselves, I don't want to own
exactly. Yeah. There are streets like that in every city. There's a couple of areas in my city where the cops are not allowed to go there unless there's 3 other cop cars.
Yep. We have Compton here by Tacoma, and you can't go to McKinley Avenue.
Wow.
You just can't. It's anything off or that street or near that street. But I'm also that leery of Class A properties, mostly because, and this isn't the perception of the people who live in Class A properties. If you lose a $200,000 a year job, it's really hard to just go find another one. If you lose a $50,000 a year job, there are a lot of $50,000 a year jobs or career changes that you can make to be in the same category. So I think in that bell curve, you're more likely for me to have those C-class properties. In my area, Class B is usually single family. You have no shared walls, so they don't cash flow in my area. And you have high-end appliances, granite, that kind of stuff that I don't want to replace as a landlord. So I'm right in the C category of I don't want to be in a war zone, but I don't want expensive places. I steal this from Grant Cardone. It's about 10 years ago. We want our rents between $1,000 and $1,500 because that is an easy place to replace a tenant with.
Yeah.
So I stay in that. Also, in an economic downturn, you're more likely to have people move from the A to there. And in good times, you're more likely to have people to go from the D to the C. So I track with Matt on in the bell curve, more people applying for it. So increased demand.
I like that.
I don't really look at it as categories as far as the way the building is. You Matt, you're upgrading it to an A-class type of property in a B-class neighborhood. You want it to be the best. I want the average property, the average upgrades, everything is consistent. So I stay C category, C rentals. It's clean, safe, functional. But I love how you said it, Mike. People can make this as complex as they want. And they go, well, what kind of fast food restaurants are there? And is there a 7-Eleven within a half a mile? And
what's the crime score? What's the school? I mean, there's just so many. Y'all are making it way too hard. You're just making it too hard.
Well, the nasty secret about crime scores is that unless you're getting federal funding, you don't have to create that crime score. So it doesn't get reported. So there's a lot of things around those crime scores and things like that, where somebody's like, oh yeah, but this, I don't care. Like I'm looking at the asset. And that's the other thing too, is doing the research in your own market. If you see things constantly going on in that same street, New York Street always has one of their houses for sale. It's because it's a demilitarized zone. Yeah. I mean, this is not a place that you want to be. Yeah. So and that's the thing is you got to look at that. And if you're looking at your list and there's constantly that issue going on, there's usually something to it. Call the town, ask them, talk to your agent. Why is there always something coming on that?
Talk to other investors.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't know. Depending on which investor asks me, I might tell them to buy it.
Yeah. This ABCD thing is just a pet peeve of mine because I think you should spend 7 seconds on it. And I think some people spend 7 days. It drives me insane. Yeah. It's like one of the least important things. Like it is far more important to get rent right than to say, oh, I got a B class. I mean, come on, really? I mean, this is what we're talking about. So it's a pet peeve of mine.
Nope, I agree. The question comes up often, so I know it's in the mind of newer investors, but really what it comes down to is doing the work, taking that 60 to 90 days, like right out of one rental at a time, learning your market, knowing the streets to avoid, knowing the neighborhoods to avoid, knowing the ones you want to be in. And it really speaks to picking your footprint. If you're trying to learn 5 different states and 3 different counties in each state, it's, I would say, very hard to be successful at that.
It's impossible. Let's just, if you're a new investor and you're in 3 states and 3 counties, you are going to be so confused and whipsawed. You will end up doing a bad deal because you will remember that one when it's that one and it's over there. Don't one buy box, one set of criteria, 90 days, no exceptions.
Especially when we're in something like a seller's market where speed is your friend and you want to be able to make an offer in minutes of that hitting the listing or you finding out about it. So I hope that cleared things up for people. There are different classes of neighborhoods, and what matters is that you know your market. If people have questions and they want to reach out, Matt, how can they get a hold of you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube or Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram, or come hang out with me on my live stream on Sunday mornings at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Nice. And Mike, if they want to ask you questions, how can they get a hold of you?
One rental at a time. Put that in your search bar. You should see books, courses, website, Instagram. And I go live Saturdays at 8 a.m. Pacific.
Awesome. I think people should show up to the live streams because you never know which conversational topic is going to be spurred by a question.
That's right. Yeah.
It's the best.
It's a lot
Awesome.
of fun.
Thank you both. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.